Next week, legislation will be introduced into federal parliament, shaping the next phase of the Northern Territory intervention. It focuses on education and expands a trial that's been running in 11 Territory schools, which suspends welfare payments and fines parents who don't send their children to school. But it's unclear whether this plan, costing $45 million over the next 3 years, is effective.
The day had gone so quickly.
3 years ago, the Four Corners program followed young Tiwi Islander Kimberly Cuttingham. The then 11-year-old faced tough conditions in her quest for an education at Wurrumyunga on Bathurst Island.
When I read and write, I feel happy.
3 years on, Kimberly Cuttingham is a success story.
Almost good at maths, English. I wanted to learn more, so that's why I come to school every day. And
Kimberly Cuttingham can read and write, unlike many of her peers.
The school is a safe place to go, so you won't get bored. Staying at home, it's like nothing to do.
Kimberly Cuttingham says she hasn't missed a day of school all year. Experts agree getting Indigenous children to school is the key to closing the education gap.
We've got 99 on the roll. We have 65 maximum come to school each day.
Xavier College on Bathurst Island is a Catholic high school.
What do you have to put at the beginning of the sentence?
3 years ago, it was selected by the federal government to trial the school enrolment and attendance through welfare reform measure, or SEAM. Parents face having their welfare payments suspended if their child isn't attending school.
We send off the attendance and then it's processed by the Centrelink agencies. They collect the data and then they counsel the parents, etc. Now, that's what it's meant to be. I can't honestly say that's happened.
While Principal KATHRYN Van Egmond says attendance at Xavier College has improved over the past few years, she doesn't attribute this to the federal government's trial.
I can't speak for any other school, but here I don't believe it's having a huge impact.
The latest Northern Territory Education Department figures show attendance in most of the 11 trial schools hasn't improved. In one of the trial schools, it's fallen by 20% since 2009.
For a whole range of reasons, in some of our schools, our attendance is not how we'd like it to be.
At the moment, I'm very, very concerned. From all the data that we have, we're seeing a fall-off in attendance. It hasn't stabilised yet.
Good afternoon, how are you?
The policy linking people's welfare payment to school attendance is being expanded by the federal government to 16 locations in the Territory, despite continued poor attendance in the SEAM trial. It will cost $45 million over the next 3 years.
If we're going to get Aboriginal kids in particular out and into the workforce, they need to have these basic numeracy and literacy skills in place, and the only way that they can do that is by attending school.
It's very hard to know what the evidence is saying, because we've seen this practice of cherry-picking anecdotal bits here and there to validate these sorts of what I describe as dishonourable approaches.
The best available data suggests that there's probably around 2,000 children who are of school age but aren't even enrolled in school. Now that's a tragedy for those kids. That 2,000 translates to around 13% of Indigenous kids of school age.
The federal government has decided to bring its education strategy in line with the Northern Territory Education Department's Every Child, Every Day policy.
Elsie.
Good morning, Margaret.
Under that policy, truancy officers are to meet with parents and work through the issues for non-attendance. If the case conferencing fails, the parents are fined up to $2,000.
Where we can't move parents to get them along, we have issued some infringement notices. And those infringement notices, I believe, have been issued to around about 19 families, and they have proved effective in a number of cases in making people realise the importance of getting their kids to school.
Yes, I do support the scheme, as long as those supports for the families are robust and meaningful for them.
In Hermansburg, west of Alice Springs, senior elders are keen to see their children get an education.
We want to protect our children, to come to school, to get more education.
Who can read the first line on the text?
The Undaria school is also part of the SEAM trial.
It actually puts parents on notice that they need to be sending their kids to school, and the community really wants that here. The community is very strong on the fact that the government has said that parents will be fined, that parents need to take responsibility for sending their kids to school.
Which pick them out.
Kathy Greene has been the Undaria school principal since the beginning of the year. She says the SEAM program can create more administrative work and is unsure if any parent has actually had their welfare suspended.
Locally, I don't think so. I haven't heard of that, but I know locally there's a few families that are going through the counselling process at the moment.
Undaria has seen improvements in attendance over the years, but there's a demographic that's particularly vulnerable.
Those young ones that are getting close to being initiated, that are in between being adults and children, they're the ones that we need to be targeting and working hard with.
Governments hope this initiative will get more children to school. If it's not successful, the impact could be devastating.
The implications are very, very serious. The future of those kids is bleak unless they're going to be able to attend school on a regular basis.